and have the questioning?
Well, how long?
Where are you? Are you in Tampere?
I'm in Tampere. Where is it? Where is? How long will it take?
How long will it take? Did you? Oh, what did you ask? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Yes, yeah. Just how long will it take?
Well, it depends on how much you have to say about this case, and I would say like maybe hour and a half max.
Okay. Well, I have a meeting tomorrow at 4 that I can't possibly miss.
Yeah, tomorrow is pretty.
A shareholders
it's
meeting.
Not a good day, but let me see what day. Well, English is your first language, you said. Is the English your first language?
Yeah, English.
Yeah. So I'm just also wondering, what language would you like to have the questioning? So I'm just thinking that too. Is there some other language you talking, or is English?
No, English is fine.
Okay. So do you feel like you want to have an interpreter in the questioning? So I speak Finnish and they translate English to you, or do you feel like we just use English? Is it more simple?
For me, it's much simpler to just use English and then record it, and then it can just be translated for court. Later.
We're not gonna. Well, the recording part, I'm gonna type it in the on the computer while we go through it, and then at the end we go through it together. That I've typed everything correctly here.
Why can't it be recorded?
Well, that's not how usually handle these kind of questionings. The other option is also videoing, but that's rarely used in this kind of situation. The recording part doesn't, because, well, first of all, there's only the voice, and that doesn't.
Well, what about video then? What video, like record video, audio?
Well, why do you feel like that's the necessary part?
I feel it's totally necessary. I do not have any trust of Finnish police, nor the prosecutors. I've reported serious organized crime since a year, and this is the first time I've been asked to come in for any question about anything.
Well, yeah, I have no idea about the other. This just has to do with the part that I told you with you and Eva.
No, she's accusing.
That investigation is on me. I don't know about the other investigation.
Sure,
so
but
I can answer
but I'm answering your question. You say, why do I want it recorded? Because
I
have zero faith. I have zero faith in Finnish police. So I'd much rather it be recorded. Then there's no possible room for doubt of what I said, and what was the questions and so on. And this is the organized crime is what this is all about. That's what my accusation against Eva is she's been supporting and aiding organized crime. Of course, she's being manipulated. So she doesn't really know what she's doing, but that doesn't mean just because you don't know what you're doing doesn't mean you're not committing serious crimes.
Yeah, well,
from what I can tell, Finland law enforcement as an institution aids and abets money laundering. That is the only conclusion I can draw from my experience. And it's a total surprise to me. I went to police about money laundering because I expected, to A, that it was the right thing to do, and B, I would be protected from being killed by organized crime. These people talk about sums up to 260 million euros, right? That they say they're moving around. I'm told the person behind the deal is the ex-president of Angola, right? Who's been implicated in money laundering billions of dollars, right? These are dangerous people.
Yeah, well, this questioning wouldn't take, it doesn't involve those other things you have reported.
That's my accusation against Eva's honor, is helping organized crime launder money.
I understand that these things that have to do with the thing you reported and all that stuff. Like you said,
Yeah.
in the questioning, the main part is the acts between you and towards Eva, and
Sure.
the messages and all these accusations. And obviously, at that you
Sure,
know,
but it's not defamation if it's true.
Well, that's you can say that, and that like we'll write it down here, and
Obviously.
that's.
I stand by all my accusations, and I stand by
okay,
all
that
my
you're
moral.
allowed to. You're
Yeah.
allowed to. You then bring that point out and
Sure.
say that's why.
But anyways, you're asking me why I want it recorded, because what
Yeah.
I am claiming is that not only is this all about organized crime, it's organized crime involving police, prosecutors, judges, and likely people at the ministries as well, or at least at least massive incompetence at the ministries. But for sure, police and prosecutors have been helping to launder money, and I completely stand by that accusation. I'm willing to prove it anytime, anywhere. And I've proved it. I also claim police have been modifying police records. It's the only explanation for a lot of these events.
Yeah. Well.
For instance, I'm told I have on recording that I'm not a suspect in this case. But I have in letter from the National Prosecutor's Office that I am a suspect. There is no legal way to be unsuspected. If I was suspected for even a 1 minute, I have rights to verify, right, what police did for that 1 minute that I was a suspect.
Are you talking about this case or some other case?
Well, tell me which case number is this, and I'll get back to you.
Well, I haven't been contacting you with this case, so I don't know. If you probably mean the other cases, because.
Sure, maybe, yeah, sure. But if you're asking me why I want it recorded on video, and I'm just answering the question. My state of belief is that police are able to change records, right? Knowingly help launder money, knowingly commit crimes, extortion, right? I'm violently assaulted by. I am violently assaulted by police.
Here and
Sure.
why you want to? I understand that.
So I'm not just answering your question. So if you say no, then I'll go to a lawyer and I'll be like, I want it recorded. Police refuse, whatever. Then we sort it out before the questioning happens.
Yeah.
If you say yes, then great. I come in for the questioning. It's recorded.
Listen to me. Hey, listen to me. I didn't say we're refusing. I'm just talking which one is easier and more simple for everyone to go through. That's why I asked you the interpreter. I wanted you to feel that if English is your first language and you want to have it like that, that's good.
Well, yeah, no, but video is the simplest.
Using English and Finnish as between our conversation, that's up to you. The recording, yes, I will ask the investigation leader if that's the best way. And let me tell you, the questioning part will be me asking you questions and you telling me answers and what you want to tell about the situation.
Great.
Me writing them on the paper, going through it with you and signing it. And if the case will be taken to court, you will probably be questioned there too. So the pre-trial investigation we're doing at the moment, you're going to probably be asked the same. It's just a pre-trial investigation where we will question everyone who's part of it to have the information available. And in this kind of case, probably you will have to go through the same things in court again, because they will ask you. And if you feel like you want to change your answer there, you can change that there. It's not going to be the final saying.
I don't change my ansers or what I believe to be true.
If you feel like it would be wrongly typed, but that's why we go through it with you before signing. At the moment, that's why we make sure it's correctly written here. And if
my preference is still that it's recorded. So just get back to me. You say you have to get an answer from somebody else, so just get back to me on that. Also, like I want to file. Like I was working on my criminal claims against Eva, also for defamation. Do I have to just file it separately, or can it be part of this investigation? My counterclaims.
Well, have you already reported it?
I reported it to the prosecutors, but they say I have to. I can't report it to them, and I have to re-report it to police. So I've reported it several times in person to police. then to prosecutors, and they say, and the police didn't make a case about it, it just disappeared. Then the prosecutors say I have to go back to police. So I can so from what I understanding, you're doing a pre-trial investigation. So my claims against Eva are just as relevant as part of this investigation.
Yes. But the point is here is the different case number or not. And then if it's a different situation, then it's not going to be included in this specific case that I'm.
Well, it's the same. It's the exact same situation. It's in the same It's in the same conversations. If like Eva accuses me of threatening to blow up nuclear power plants and commit basically mass genocide, serious
if you feel like
accusation.
Has to do with this, then you can bring it up in the questioning.
Yeah, but then does it become I can go now today and file the criminal claims against Eva, or if it's part of
like
this.
I said, it depends on if you say it has to do with the same thing here.
Yeah, it does.
In the same conversations.
Yes.
Then,
obviously it's easier for me to just come and report it at the same time to you. But if I have to, we can have the questionings and then you can decide. But that will be definitely part of my answer. And just so that you're aware, Eva accuses me in writing, right, in board discussions, not a private discussion, right, in professional board discussion, of threatening to blow up nuclear power plants, which would be, genocide basically. It'd be way worse than. Yeah.
Do you feel like this is a situation where maybe just figuring out you and Eva this whole situation and not using authorities and all this way to get some kind of result? Because
I've been recommending that since over a year. I even offered to pay Eva. I even offered to pay for Eva to talk to a truly independent legal expert because she's being ill-advised. She keeps on rejecting exactly what you're proposing right now.
Okay.
I offer to pay. I offer to pay for her to talk to an independent attorney. And any sane attorney would be like, sit down, right, find a resolution, right, we're the biggest shareholders in the company. There's no reason we should be fighting. It's not good for us. It's not good for our children. It's not good for the company, right? I'm always willing to submit all of these differences to some impartial party who just decides, right? Which would be a process that would be biased against me because no one empathizes with me, if you may have guessed in this whole process. So submitting everything to some auditor.
I don't understand why would that be the case in any more.
I can't know for sure. My expectation is that for sure, an impartial attorney or auditor, right? Whatever, just resolving things is the best scenario. I don't expect that situation to be biased in my favor. Of course, it shouldn't be biased towards anybody, but I don't see, there's sort of no reason to expect it would be biased towards me. Professional community in Finland seems to be, happy about this sort of, nasty law breaking. For 10 years, I run the corporation as chair. I go to attorneys, I say what to do, they tell me the rules, and so on. None of them ever told me that if you just start breaking these rules, the Companies Act and so on, and even, real crimes, that nothing happens. Right, so I follow the rules for 10 years, right? Then I'm accused of not even being the CEO, that I've been a fraudulent CEO for 2 years, and I've been issuing invalid loans and long list of accusations, right? Totally not, anyways, breaking every single rule in the Companies Act. Anyway,
it's hard for me to answer on that because I don't have.
I'm just answering your question. I've recommended I've recommended not only doing what you just proposed, I've recommended mediation, impartial attorney mediation. I've recommended arbitration. Right, I say I'm blackmailed by this investor that is now gone, and they say no, it's not blackmail. I'm like, well, okay, if I'm wrong, let's submit it to impartial attorney. If there's no law breaking, I give up all my shares. So all my beliefs I'm willing to submit to some impartial party that I have no reason to believe would be biased against me, and I would expect would be biased against me, would do really everything they could possibly do to rule against me. That would be my expectation, but I'm willing for that process anyways, so that the situation is resolved.
I'm talking about this. The one I have here is defamation, and the other one is about about the messages, hundreds of messages you sent to her.
Yeah, in the she opens. I keep on telling her she doesn't want to negotiate. She can recuse herself. She never does.
But well, this case is about that. So I'm just calling about the meaning that is that something you could, go to mediation and agree on.
I've recommended.
I understand it's a whole big situation for.
This is what I keep proposing since a year.
Yeah.
I propose mediation with an attorney, mediation with whoever, mediation with a judge. They keep on rejecting. They keep on rejecting this. And okay, if you want to understand the situation, me and Ava, we own our shares in the company. We found the company together, right? We put in the money, and we get our shares, totally legally. Obviously, that's how shares get created. We get our shares. I get 600,000 shares. Ava gets 400,000 shares. And those are the only shares that exist. This whole crazy madness is because we then bring in other people. I'm not sure if you know their names, but Urs, Lauren, they're on the website. And we promise them shares, which I have no issue admitting that was the promise and that was the deal. The problem is they don't get lawyer. We have these two investors, this guy Arto Leitonen, who's like an angel investor in Sweden. I haven't run a corporation before. Anyways, this investor comes in, we make a shareholders agreement, we have a lawyer. None of them can get shares to our friends, who I want them to get shares. They're my friends. Like, I know Lauren since I'm like 6 years old. I know Urs since like 15 years. So I want them to get shares, but none of the legal people involved are able to explain how they get shares. Because you can't just in Finnish law, now they say, oh, you just give people shares, whatever. But at the time, they kept on coming up with crazy rules that you can't just give shares for no value. You can't there's no shares for work in Finnish law. That sort of deal. I don't know, I'm trying to do my knowledge of business is like television, basically. So I'm trying to do a stock options deal. But anyways, lawyer and Finnish investor keep telling me you can't do that. So it results in there's this promise of shares, but the shares never get issued. So I have 600,000 shares, Ava has 400,000 shares, and these investors together have 140,000 shares or whatever, which also makes me 51% owner, right? Then we have this problem. I tell the guys, and then I have the problem. I'm chair of the company, and lawyers tell me I have to just look after the interest of the existing shareholders, right, and the company. So I can't sue myself for other people to get shares, right? Legally, attorneys keep on telling me that I don't want other people to get shares, right? So if they snooze, they lose. That's good for me and the company and the other shareholders, right? So, and this situation lasts, and so they tell me attorneys tell me I should fuck over my friends. That's basically what they say. If they don't ask for their shares, they don't make a claim, right? Then snooze, you lose. Finnish law, if you don't protect your own interests, whatever, no judge is gonna take care of your business for you. Right, and not only that's what they recommend, but I don't think that's moral. So I keep telling them, make a claim, talk to a lawyer, right? And this is something that's solved in a day. You phone any Finnish lawyer, we got this share promise, but we haven't got the shares yet, right? They solve it's completely banal stuff. They solve it in 2 hours, maybe less, right? Totally banal, templated stuff. And I keep telling them to do it, but they don't want to spend even 100 euros on a lawyer, and they don't want to pay the taxes, which would be really low 10 years ago, but whatever. They don't want to pay anything, and the company may go bankrupt. So this situation persists for 8 years, right? But still, I'd give them the shares, right? Even and then there's a statutes of limitation. An attorney says, after 5 years, statutes of limitation, they can't claim the shares anymore. So this persists for 8 years. Yeah. But to understand, if you want to understand the situation. Right, then this situation persists. Then this guy's laundering money, the Swedish guy's laundering money in West Africa, right, making fake engineering projects, 10,000 versions of 10 times bigger machines of our technology. If you've seen our website, we make ovens, we don't make power plants. But that's what he's selling in South Africa. Well, not selling, making fake engineering projects to move money around, right? In Angola, Namibia, Myanmar, the most readiest red flag countries in money laundering in the world, right? And for a long time, it's like shady stuff. I'm kept in the dark, but the government in Angola changes, and they do some sort of investigation on them. I don't know this. I figure it out later, and then suddenly they want more documents from me because they kind of just like would mention stuff, but they wouldn't tell me any. Like, I don't know, so I don't have any evidence. So it seems shady, but I don't have any evidence. So what can I do about it? But then eventually they get this Angola does this fraud investigation because the government changed. And then they start asking me way more documents, right? And then like building this project as like a real project, not just speculation as it was before, always presented to me from my point of view at least. That's what, right? And then and eventually at some point it's just fraud. Like they say they're going to build this power plant in 18 months. I'm like, that's just false statement. And they signed PPAs, power purchase agreements with the Angolan power grid company or whatever for these plants. 50 million euro, like 50 megawatts, over 200 million euros power plants and so on. Also like a diamond mine company, right? Like it's just blood diamonds and money laundering and like what and but I think the Swede is being manipulated the same as me. Like we're small engineering companies. But just to finish the story, so you understand what the situation is really about. Is that the investor then wants to get rid of me because I become suspicious, so he accuses me of a whole bunch of crimes to Ava, to Urs and whatever, and then comes in, and Ava's mad at me because I have a new girlfriend or whatever. So he manipulates them. He tells Urs and Lauren that they're not that I'm somehow set up things up to steal their shares or whatever. They don't have their shares. That's the problem. I'm not stealing anything. They never asked for the shares. Anyways, but he has to move the property of my shares because I still have 51%, right? So I can just, he wants to fire me as CEO, but if I have 51% of shares, I just hire myself back as CEO and then hire an attorney to go through all this financial stuff and report it to police, right? And then it's whatever, it's a police problem. If there's not apps, I don't care if he gets arrested or not or whatever, but it's clearly irregular business activity and my duty to report it to police as CEO of a corporation, right? So anyway, but to do this, you must manipulate Ava, because even in the just changing the share ownership the way they did, without any documents, totally illegally, Ava and I still have a majority of shares. So Ava and I, at any time, could sit down, do exactly as you say, just come to an agreement. Give everything to an impartial attorney who would then decide, if this is something to report to police or not. So that's the situation.
Here is I understand the background and the backstory here.
Sure.
That causes the problem. The questioning I would have to go through with you is about the report Eva made about the hundreds and thousands of messages you have sent, which you have also, insulted and all this. Well, you said that they are true, but all this, accusations of all the
you support. Look at all my messages and think from the perspective. If these people are supporting organized crime, is it true or not?
I'm just saying you understand that sending thousands of messages doesn't help the case. The background, the company's problems, and all.
It's essential because for all sorts of legal processes could result from this chaos. So it's essential to document everything, what I know, and I say the truth.
The problem Eva has reported is the thousands of messages and inappropriate messages that you've been sending. That stuff. So
what you will find is I will print out the messages where I regularly tell her she can recuse herself. I'm only she's the chair. You want to be managing director and chair of a company? Well, you get messages from the largest shareholder, maybe, especially if you're committing crimes. So she doesn't recuse herself from her positions. Neither does she recuse herself from the negotiations. She starts.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying maybe the situation would be.
But attorneys have to manipulate her, because then the company attorney, where all this craziness happens. I don't even know how he became the company attorney. I'm the CEO and managing director and chair of the firm. I'm the only person who can authorize anything. And suddenly I'm told there's a corporate attorney working for the company that I've never met, I've never heard of, never signed anything.
Yeah. What if, situation be resolved with just not, stopping this
I'm not messaging.
thousands.
I message her when there's something to negotiate. Sometimes she messages
And
me.
figuring out through lawyers and calmly them letting them and
That's
in a
what
more-
that's what I recommend. They refuse.
Yeah.
Ava.
Well,
I've
I
said.
think
I've
the
said.
first
I've
start
since
would
a
be
year.
to
Since a
not
year,
send-
I've
send
proposed. Yeah, dude. Since a year, I've proposed
Yeah, I
sitting down with Ava
Yeah, I
and
understand. I understand.
any number of attorneys. Bring 10 attorneys. Right?
I understand
They
the problem,
refuse.
the
They
companies
refuse.
and those disagreements with
Yeah, but it's
refuse.
refused because Ava's manipulated. Ava's manipulated into keeping this conflict because the other
Yeah.
as soon as the Ava ends the conflict and says, okay, the question of the shares we'll give to some auditor, right? The question of the money laundering we'll give to some attorney, some specialist, whatever. If there's money laundering, they report. Like that's what corporations should be run. Shouldn't be me deciding if it's money laundering or
Would
not.
there be any more professional way to go through this than the what's been happening with the messaging and all that information in the messages?
I recommend mediation. I recommend arbitration.
okay,
I recommend
okay.
judge
So
mediation.
if she would agree on mediation, would you be okay with that? And
Yeah, of course.
with also including the messaging, huge amounts of hundreds and thousands of messages, or also inappropriate messages with like different accusations and stuff. If she agrees to the mediation,
Inappropriate if they aren't true.
well, the problem she has here is because from many different. Well, that has to do with the disagreement you have with her and you and
Look,
companies'
the only reason that,
problems.
like the first, I keep telling Ava she doesn't want to negotiate. She can recuse herself. Then the attorney, her attorney, sets this whole the first thing her attorney does is start a custody case against me. Right?
Yeah, well, okay, yeah,
Dude, there was no custody issue. We go talk to a judge.
Okay.
And all the judge does is explain every single one of Ava's issues is not a custody issue. So why did her attorney recommend a custody case?
I can't really. I have no
Well,
idea what-
obviously you can't answer that, but I'm telling you, the reason she recommends a custody case is because the strategy is to overwhelm and destroy me legally, right? And going after my children is insanely stressful, and obviously I'm going to spend money on that, which I do. I have to spend 900 euros on an interpreter to come to Turku, because 2 days before the judge mediation, the court says we can't use the same mediator, the same interpreter. Because that somehow that would be a conflict of interest. Like that doesn't make any sense. But anyways, the point is, like the attorneys, like all of this conflict between Ava and me, right? If you want to understand the circumstances, if that's what the Criminal Investigations Act says, is because attorneys need to manipulate Ava to keep this conflict going. Because the attorneys involved, the company attorney, Ava's attorney, the auditor, they all go and cooperate and like plan and so on with David and his attorney in Sweden to cover up the money laundering. Now, maybe they didn't know what they were doing at the start, but they quickly figure it out. And they're cooperating against Ava's own interest, because Ava's interest is to keep her 400,000 shares. Right? It also creates a tax fraud problem, because when did these shares transfer? In 2014? No, there's no documents. There's no transfer tax paid then. In 2022? Well, they're saying they transferred in 8 years ago. So who paid the taxes? I never paid taxes on the transfer of these shares. I'm supposed to pay capital gains tax if I give shares, even if I give shares away. So I didn't pay any capital gains tax. Ava didn't pay any capital gains tax, right? So the attorneys, her own attorney, is manipulating her into keeping this conflict going and keeping this crazy share situation going, right? So that I cannot return as CEO of the company. And as soon as I'm CEO of the company, I hire an attorney, analyze all the evidence, and submit it to police. And if the company attorney has committed a crime, like you don't take me, you don't I don't want to speculate about you, but police in general, right? They don't take me seriously as an individual, but they took me seriously for 10 years when I was chair of a corporation and CEO.
I take you seriously. I don't know what you mean by that, because
I reported to give you an example. When I was CEO of a
reported some kind of
no, just to give you an example. When I was CEO of a corporation, the Solar Fire, I reported €350 of fraudulent invoice. That I paid by accident, it's still my fault in that sense, right? I get called immediately by police saying, well, the money went to some Eastern European country. They'll never get it back. No one, etc., etc. But they got to investigate anyways. And they would just call me randomly. I just sent an email. I'm not going to spend hundreds of euros on an attorney to report things. But whatever, it's still like a crime. I should report it to police. So I do. I just send an email. I don't bother with the whole electronic system or anything. And they phone me back. And then they keep me posted. They phone me back like 3 or 4 times on the evolution of this case. Right? Why? Because I'm a CEO of a company. Now, when I'm no longer CEO of a company, I report money laundering, fraud, extortion, serious organized crime, right? I never get called at all.
Well,
I do it in person. I do it in the official police website. Never a call. So, maybe this maybe this is one isolated incident and not a general thing, but maybe you can appreciate my perspective that I feel of my opinion that I would be
feel that way. But I'm just telling you, if you report a crime, and obviously I don't know about the cases before and what's going on with them and what's the problem in those. If you have some, if you report a crime, it goes to a specific, department, what kind of crime it would be. They go through it. If it seems, there are many reasons how the investigation can go. And the main point is there has to be some kind of, what's the word? Like
evidence.
Evidence.
I attach evidence to these reports.
Well, the evidence is the main point. So if you have some evidence, that's the main point you should obviously bring up.
That's what I do, but I never get called, and then I never get called, and then they shut down. Yeah, I did. One of the crimes committed against me is shutting off my email and then accessing it. Right? This is serious crime. Right? Invasion of my privacy, trade secrets violation, correspondence interception. It's a hacking, right? Even though he has the passwords or whatever, it's still hacking, unauthorized access to a computer system, and blah blah blah. Many serious crimes, and correspondence interception is one of the oldest laws we have. Right? Goes back to Mesopotamia. You can't read each other's mail. Right? In the context that I'm already being accused of non-disclosure breaches. That's their first accusations against me, to try to get me to sign severance, to get me to shut up so I couldn't talk to you about what happened. Right? So I'm accused of non-disclosure breaches. My email is shut off. I say obviously the only purpose of shutting off my email is to access it, to look for dirt. They're like, no one's invading your privacy, blah, blah, blah. They even get the company attorney to write an official letter saying that no one's invading my privacy. Well, I negotiate back access to my email, right, which normally, right, they wouldn't expect, right, because they shut off my email. They could just never give me back access, right? And then there'd never be any evidence, right? Keyword, evidence. Well, I negotiate back access to my email because Ava doesn't know my email was accessed, nor 2 other board members. So I just put in one contract, one agreement that we do kind of partially resolves things. It could have resolved things if my email wasn't accessed. Because I sign it on the understanding, Ava keeps on telling me no one's accessing my email, no one's invading my privacy. And I was honestly impressed because if they can legally shut off my email, right? They can't legally access it without, big process. Right? So I'm like, okay, that actually gave me a lot of confidence that they kept on, because okay, if they didn't put their hand in the cookie jar, maybe they're professionals I could trust with the company. Well, I negotiate back access to my email, and I put it in the contract, the exact name of my email. And it's run by Google. And Urs even makes this other account, eric.wizens.archive. Right? And he's a sophisticated IT person. So he tries to move the account around and give me back access to the, eric.wizens.@solarfire, but it's now a new account. But Google doesn't let him do that. So he's just forced, he delays. Eventually he's just forced to give me back access to my original email account. And I bring up the logs, and it has access from Switzerland for the logs are filled with access of Switzerland when I don't even have access to my account. Right? This is just a clear crime. What more do you want in evidence than the logs? So I attached this.
Why the investigation ended
or
whatever.
Well, I'll tell you because Ava's attorney gets Ava to and things were not as toxic at the time. So my emails before, I was just explaining the crimes, and Ava's upset about that. And Ava's attorney goes to her and says, "Well, he's sending you unwanted messages." Well, that does not cover business correspondence, right? And this is like months and months ago, so nothing's as toxic. I'm just trying to resolve things. I still think, Ava and I can, our parents and so on, and right? So, okay, the unwanted messages are just me explaining these crimes. And that I'm not going to remarry her, because she's really upset about that as well. And then Ava's attorney convinces her that it's a crime, unwanted messages or whatever. And they go to police to talk to the prosecutors, whatever. Why? To get in there and get these cases to go away. And they discuss these cases because Ava tells me. That's the problem. Everybody if you think Ava knows she's committing crimes and is doing it in an intelligent way without giving me evidence, wrong. She just tells me everything and then confirms it in messages. She doesn't know these are crimes or anything bad's happening. And why would she? Her attorney says to do this. They go to the investigator, talk to the prosecutor, right? And of course they talk about all the cases, right? Well, now this is insanely serious corruption, right? And they get my cases to just go away. Right, and they tell the narrative that I'm just upset as a CEO and I got fired and I'm upset about that and I'm making shit up and so on and there's no evidence, etc. And they get things to go away, right? Then they phone me to say. Then eventually they get those cases to go away. Then they want to get Ava's case to go away too, because they didn't submit the evidence of what the messages were, which is me explaining how the money laundering and all the crimes work, right? So the police phones me up, right? It says, doing the pretrial investigation, you're on investigating you. You've been suspected of the crime of sending too many messages. And then it all became clear. And I'm told for a month, I'm under investigation. I'm the criminal. I'm going to jail. Right? So I live under this stress that I'm told I'm going to jail. I don't know what crime I've been accused of. And they've got 4 attorneys. Ava tells me 4 attorneys. Her attorney, Urz's attorney, the company attorney, and David's attorney, who's laundering money. They're all working together, going through all of my correspondence for years to try to get me on something. So I don't know, maybe they find something. So I'm told I'm under investigation, I'm the criminal, I'm going to jail. I have to live under this stress for a whole month, right? Then the police finally phone me, say, you've been accused of sending too many messages. Instantly, it's clear what's happened. I'm like, well, how is that a crime? Right? Instantly, it's clear that they just got Ava to file the claim and they told her that just like a number of messages is a crime. Well, that's not a harassing communication, just too many messages, right? There's no law that you can send 10 but not 11, right? There has to be intention to harm and it's persistent and blah, 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 all this other stuff, right? But to avoid submitting the evidence, but create the context of a criminal claim so that they can get in with the investigators and prosecutors or whatever and get everything to go away, right? They manipulate Ava and make her believe that just sending too many messages when she's like the chair of a corporation in a negotiation, talking with the biggest shareholder, is a crime. And I did not get in writing that I was a suspect of anything, right? And then the only right I'm told by this police officer is you have the right to refuse closing the investigation. I'm like, okay, great, because my whole problem at that time, I've been fired, I'm denied holiday pay, I got no money. Right, and I got no money for lawyers to help solve everything. As you said, why not just solve everything with lawyers? Well, it takes money, right? And people destroy your career, ruin your reputation. They say I can't talk to anybody in my whole professional network, or they're going to hit me with non-disclosure breaches and blah, 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 right? So, if I'm under investigation, I have a right to a lawyer. That would be great help. So I'm like, yeah, I refuse the investigation being closed. And the whole point of the right to refuse the investigation being closed if it's filed for bad faith harassing purposes. So the police officer tries to convince me otherwise, but I'm like, no, I refuse the investigation being closed. I explain all the money laundering or whatever. I say I want to come in for questioning. Eventually she says, she tries to talk me out of it. Eventually, like after an hour, she's like, okay, you can come in for questioning. I'll give you time to come in for questioning next week. Right after the meeting, she sends me an email. I'm going to tell you times to come in for questioning next week. So, which obviously can only happen if there's an investigation and she's doing the pretrial investigation. And this is an email. I'm like, great, finally, I'm like, I'm willing to go to jail at this point if it resolves all this madness. Like, I don't know, maybe I've done some, CEO transgression, etc. And then once this goes all like serious or whatever, then, the law's the law and I've done this mistake too and whatever, got to account for it. Like, so maybe I got to go to jail for a few months, but it's worth it to resolve this whole crazy mad situation. Then 3 days later, right, this was Friday, 3 days later, same police officer emails me, says she's not going to let me refuse closing the investigation because it's never been done before. An offender has never asked that before. And she calls me an offender, so clearly I'm a suspect, and clearly, like, you know, and then they keep on accusing me of these crimes, right? Don't I have the right to exonerate myself? And as for the original crime that she suspected me of, sending too many messages, well, I confess to that. I talk a lot. If it's a crime, put me away. If it's a crime, put me away.
Like I told you in the beginning of the phone call, the case here I'm dealing with here is the messages being sent, thousands of messages, and also the information in them being defamation.
Sure, yeah, but this is all connected. This is all connected. This is obviously it's relevant if she's filed the same claims before. And how do you explain? I already confessed.
This isn't anything in this this summer or something before that, this year, but earlier this year, the time for these messages.
But dude,
around February.
How are you going to explain to a judge, right? To understand how serious the problem is for you police officers. How are you going to explain to a judge that I'm under investigation for a crime I've already confessed to and exercise my right to refuse the investigation being closed to? So maybe reflect on that and then get back to me with the recording. If the question can be recorded or not, and the times to come.
Can you also say when did this happen? It was that you confessed to this sending messages.
Sending too many messages, which
too many, yes.
For the record,
when was this?
For the record, the police officer was not able to explain to me how that was an actual crime. I'm like, where in the law is that a crime? Then she changed it to, you have been suspected of breaching the Communications and Transmission Act, which I have not been able to find. But her original accusation, you've been suspected of the crime of sending too many messages.
This was last year.
This was last year around, like this was right before Christmas.
Yeah. Well, this is this year. The message is this year.
But how are you gonna go to explain? Like, you go to explain, how are you gonna go and explain to a judge, right? That I was already investigated. I refused the investigation being closed, but I wasn't allowed to do that. Like, what's the point of telling somebody that's their right if it's not a right? Like, is it just like purely ornamental, right? Like,
well, did you get the reasoning behind the ending of the investigation that time?
They said no one's ever asked to have an investigation, like no offender has ever asked to use their right to refuse the investigation being closed.
Well,
but that's not a legal reason. Like, I don't know, probably no one's ever been convicted of high treason or whatever, and it's still a crime.
Well, that situation is different than this. And different case.
Well, I don't know. You go talk to the prosecutor. If somebody is investigated for a crime, refuses the investigation being closed, and confesses.
Yeah.
Like,
listen, there's specific crimes in Finland that are what's called I don't know. It's English. Asianomistajarikos means that the injured party crimes in translation. That if that type of crime, the injured party, so who has been, if you threaten someone, then they're the injured party. If they don't have any demands against the person who has been suspected of the crime, that even though if he or she confesses the crime, but the injured party doesn't demand any kind of punishment for them, the investigation has to be stopped.
No. After the confession is recorded.
Well, if at that point the injured party drops the demands, then at that point the investigation has to be stopped because of the reason that if.
Well, then why tell me I have a right to refuse closing the investigation? Like, what's the point of that right? If obviously it's not a right, you're just explaining that that's not a right. In fact. So why was I told that was a right? I only do this because that's what I'm told. Police officer says you have a right to refuse closing the investigation. If she had just said, well, we have to close the investigation because the person withdrew their claims and that's that, I wouldn't have complained. I don't know. I didn't read the Criminal Investigations Act or anything at that point, so I just trust what police tell me.
Okay, well, it's hard for me to say what they told you then and stuff, but let's just move on from that and focus on this one at the moment, and I will call you back.
Well, and then obviously I'm a suspect, so where's my lawyer?
Sorry?
Obviously I'm a suspect in this case, so where is my right to a free legal counsel?
Well, you're allowed to get yourself a lawyer for the investigation, even the questioning, also well in the court too. But in this moment, and in specific cases, you can be assigned a lawyer if you don't have the money.
Yeah, well, I wish to be assigned a lawyer.
Okay, and the reasoning is that you can't afford that yourself.
I have no money. And my wealth is stolen from me.
Okay. Well, I will call you back once I've went through all this the problems at the moment with the investigation.
Yeah. And what I would recommend to you and to your colleagues in police, like I don't is to organize a judge mediation to just settle everything. Like all of this.
That would be easily, obviously, the best for everyone.
With Ava, with the police, right? If things are returned to a sane state, I don't have any problem with police, with prosecutors. David's gone, the original money launderer. If police don't want to investigate him, whatever. It's not my problem anymore, right? But as long as I'm under attack, right, and threatened, I'm continuously threatened with lawsuits and criminal claims and etc., and my share and like this is like I've never paid taxes on this share transfer. So I cannot accept a state of affairs where I'm guilty of tax fraud. Because if the tax office comes, now they're saying the shares are worth 3.5 euros a share, right? So my shares are worth 2.1 million and the whole company worth like 4 million. Well, eventually the tax office is going to take interest where the shares go and when the tax is paid. And they're not going to. They're not going to give it. They're not going to give a shit. They're not. They're not. The tax office is not going to give a shit about all this mess. And I had to accept it because whatever, right? They're going to be like, where the fuck did you pay the taxes? And that's the only question. That's the only question they're going to have.
Okay, I think this is enough. We went through this.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. Insofar as things are not in like a sane legal state, I cannot let go of any claim. Right, because if I let go of stuff, I get sued, I get charged with crime, tax office comes and charges me with tax fraud, puts me in jail. No hesitation. If I accept this state of that my shares transferred somehow without me ever paying taxes, that's just straight up tax fraud. And now the shares, right, they've just issued, they just made a vote to issue shares at 3.5 euros a share. Well, that means my shares are worth 2 million.
Okay.
I should owe taxes on them, and they just made just so you understand. Like these are serious legal issues. Yeah. They transfer half my shares. That's according to them. That's a million euros. The shares are worth. So I owe like 500,000 euros to the tax office according to them.
Eric.
Yeah.
I will call you back once I figure out the things we talked about.
Great.
About this case, and I will call you back.
Great. Okay. Thanks. Bye bye.
Yeah.